on how to do that. So as I'm adding people in here, I just want to say welcome. Thank you for joining us today. It's March 4th and it's almost springtime. I know you guys could have better things to do, but we're excited that you guys can join us and figure out how to use this platform. So I see many familiar faces here. I see very, very good etiquette on Zoom as well. Lots of muted and videos turned off. Feel free to undo those if you're going to talk and interact. This is going to be a question and answer session. And again, the goal here is for you to walk away informed and aware of how to use the National R3 Clearinghouse. So if you look in the chat, I probably have to post it again. You'll find a link to two places. First, the National Clearinghouse. And second, the National R3 Implementation Work Group. Now these two items go hand in hand. I'm going to start with the work group, hop into the clearinghouse. So engagement here is really important, guys. Follow along on the clearinghouse when we get there. And we'll walk through some exercises for you guys to test it out and learn these features, okay? We'll use the chat as a way to manage conversation, or you can do reactions. I'm a one-man show, one-woman show today. So if I'm missing somebody, please, feel free to call out and say, hey, Sam, I have a question, okay? All right, so this webinar is recorded. The links are shared to the platforms, and I'm going to start sharing my screen. All right, so if you don't know who I am, my name is Samantha Petter. I am Director of Operations here at the Council. And I get to do a lot of fun projects like run the National R3 community and run the National R3 Clearinghouse. How the Clearinghouse came to be, quick background, is because this group of individuals here, these are members of the National R3 Implementation Work Group. And through a long series of efforts identifying the key barriers that were prohibiting R3 advancement in the nation, they worked together and identified some top needs that we needed to address as a community to keep progress on R3 moving forward. So this group is why we have this resource, the National R3 Clearinghouse. If you want to learn more about them and how we work together alongside RBFF, Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation, and American Sport Fishing Foundation, make this clearinghouse reality, please read up here, the links in the chat. You can even see that we're using the clearinghouse as a feature here too, and I'll tell you more about that in a moment. So just know that this resource was a strategic tool that the council set up with its partners so that you could find your R3 content that we know you've been searching for. So that's how the IWG connects to the council. Just a little, or the clearinghouse, I'm sorry. Just a little bit of background there. So if we do have a little background noise, I'm not sure who's at play. I'm gonna mute one person. All right, I think it's, yep, okay, there we go. All right, so if you have some background noise, definitely use your mute buttons if you can. Can everybody tell me, can you get into the clearinghouse? Have you found this link that I sent in the chat? You should see what you're seeing on my screen. It says, welcome to the National R3 Clearinghouse, mentoring marketing partnerships. Bree, do you mind being my guest audience here? Can you see what I'm seeing? All right, looks like we can, okay. In the chat, great, okay, thank you very much, Emily and Nikki too. Awesome, so as far as this resource, I like to call it the untrademarked Google of R3. This basically is your one-stop shop for all of the case studies, the research reports, imagery, videos, webinars related to R3. We're actively curating that content and putting it in one place. It's a very dynamic tool, you'll come to find out. So I'm going to show you some ways to search for the content here, as well as how to contribute to the platform yourself as well. To start off, I just want you to know that there's many tools we've built into the platform already that you can use. So if you go to the bottom of this screen, you'll see a video. It's a 2-minute video and it says how to use the clearinghouse. That's one resource available to you. You can check it out. That was done by Kristen Black, who's no longer with the council, but she did a lot of the work to stand this tool up, and she knows it back and forward and leads you in some great just tips to start out. We also have some using the clearinghouse guides. There's the video there, and then there's a statement that I want to draw attention to. It says that by uploading content to this site, you are agreeing that you have proper permission to share the content with the general public, as this is an open platform. You further agree to hold the council harmless from any third-party complaints. You do not need to log into this platform to use it. That's why we highlight that this is an open platform. So what that means, this is a digital asset management tool. People can see the stuff you post. The council does review everything that goes up and we filter it and add tags to it. But if you have a report that you think people would find helpful, you drag and drop your files right here and we'll be able to be notified that you submitted content, and then it'll be added to the open asset bank. Assets, another definition of that is report, photo. Any kind of content that you upload here is an asset. So if you see up here, it says assets, that's everything that anybody submitted. Okay. So just to draw attention to this, make sure that if you submit content, that you have permission to do so on behalf of your organization. Okay. At the same time, sometimes some of these assets have copyrights attributed to them. If you're using a photo, make sure you're checking to see if there's a copyright and attribute the credit where it is due. One of the benefits of this community pooled resources is that we share content, but we want to make sure that the right people get the credit and that we aren't misusing the photos or the resources as we go forward. So as a good kind of rule of thumb, make sure you have permission to share content and make sure that if anybody put copyrights on the content that you're using, you give them credit. So the resources here, how you understand and interact with it, there's videos. There's also terms and conditions right here on the bottom of the page, and this will be present on every page. It'll take you an outline if you have questions regarding that. And then there's also privacy policy. So when you get into tech platforms such as these, you have to make sure that we address all of the checks and balances to keep the resource active and alive. There's information here on how we use your information, your IP addresses, your surveys. Everything is right here and can be found on every page of the Clearinghouse by visiting privacy policy, terms and conditions. Also, if you have questions, the tutorial tab at the bottom left-hand corner here is a great resource. You can literally type in a question and say, how do I download a single asset? Once I work through that tutorial, it's going to check it off for you. It remembers your IP address, so it can help you work through them. Essentially, this could be a little workshop for you. If you want to share assets, if you want to create a collection, all of these are laid out through the platform, which is Binder, and designed to be trackable and for you to come back and forth as you go. So know that this resource is here on top of the items that the council has provided in the overview videos and on top of community engagement events such as the one we're hosting today. So these are just all ways to empower you, the user, the member of the R3 community, to use this platform. We believe in the power of this platform. We know it's going to be a great resource. We've already seen the utility play out in more ways than we actually thought possible. And I'll give you some examples of that in a moment. But I want you to just kind of get familiar with the tabs. I'm going to highlight here now, if you're following along on your screen, the top left options. You have home, assets, partner collections, and R3 topics. Can I get a little engagement and everyone telling me that they see that? Thanks, Bree. Bree is your designated. Yeah, thank you, Holly. Great, guys. Cool. Thanks, Phil. All right, Kara, thank you so much. Okay, so that top left section, guys, is basically one of the perfect ways to navigate the platform. If you hit home, you come to the basic home page of the Clearinghouse. This is where you can find updates, your user information, etc. When in doubt, I hit home. It takes me back to the place I'm most comfortable with and I know how to navigate from. So that's a good tip for you. As well, here are the assets. So assets is a way to say, show me everything. Right now, there's over 374 public assets in the Clearinghouse. They range from a webinar that was just done on the Multi-State Conservation Grant Program to some great resources for COVID and quarantine that the council put out in 2020. There's recordings of webinars, there's photography, there's everything. And as you imagine, as we go forward, our goal is to get over 1,000 resources in this place in 2021 alone. It's going to get overwhelming. Thankfully, if you come here, you can start to filter, and your filters are going to be one of the greatest ways to bounce through this content. We are trying diligently to build something that makes sense logically. So we put ourselves in the seat of an R3 coordinator and said, if I came here, what might I be looking for? So we said, okay, well, there's probably, you know, audio, document, imagery, video, website references we might want. We might be looking for podcasts, campaigns, case studies, toolkits. We put a lot of work, probably a good 50 hours, in structuring the filtering of this platform. So if you see something that, you know, we might be missing here, please let us know. We can definitely add it in. And this is important because for two ways. From the user side, you're going to use these filters to help sort through this content. So an example, I'll say I want images. Just by selecting images up here in that filter, now all I see are images out of those asset banks. Okay, that's been a great resource. That limited 375 resources to 124. And now I know that I want a photo, so I can download a photo from here. That already trimmed down my search. If I want to pick, say, a hunting photo, well, there we go. Now I only have 86 results to sort through. So these filters are definitely helpful for you as you navigate the platform. You can do them by state. So there's photos from Kentucky. Here's 3 hunting photos from Kentucky. Using the filters and starting from the asset bank, just the base, is a really great way to move forward. Another way to do it is to search. So I'm gonna go back to my original asset bank, okay? All my photos, all my resources are right here. But I wanna search for, say, mentoring, okay? I hit search, automatically it already pops up some things. But right now in the clearinghouse, there's 89 resources connected to mentoring. Now these include Kentucky Strategic Plan. It includes the threat documents from the National Hunting and Shooting Sports Action Plan. It includes a lot of content. And I want to narrow this down. So I want to say, okay, I want to talk about hunting mentoring. And just like that, now I only have 27 documents to filter through and see. These are a mix of the search bar, and the filters are probably going to be your best approach to finding the content you want. That's how to search. Does that make sense to everybody? Any questions there? Okay, use your chat or your engagement. Cool. All right, so those basic features are, if you left here today, you'd be set. But let's talk about another way to use it. There's something called the partner collections. Now I'm on the top left corner here again. It's, if you go home, assets, partner collections. I'm going to select that. Partner collections are a cool way for us to group assets that are related to each other. So since Bree's on with us, I'm just going to go into the Georgia R3 structure. We grouped these assets into a collection based on Georgia. There's the Georgia R3 Summit Agenda, the Georgia R3 Summit Report, the Hunting and Shooting Sports Action Plan, and some other notes. This is a collection. By tagging all these resources together, I say if I was Georgia's R3 coordinator, I could share these with a group of people if I wanted them to see all the related assets. One way we can do this, RBFF has used this in a really great manner. They've uploaded over around 45 documents. So right now, if RBFF wanted to share all their assets that were tagged with them in the R3 Clearinghouse, they could just share their collection. So you R3 coordinators or R3 coordinators for agencies or NGOs, if you'd like to have your own collection of content to share with partners or the rest of the R3 community, this would be a great feature for you, and the council staff can work with you to leverage that. You can embed the collections as we move forward. I can show you how to do that on another webinar, but this is a way to share documents across the platforms and still have them here easily accessible to people. Okay, and I'm looking, Nikki Straley. I had a hard time finding what I wanted, so thank you for this webinar. A cookbook is only as good as its index website. Okay, the filters are a great asset too. So use the chat as you go, guys, if you have questions, okay? So the collections here, as I said, the partner collections are a way and a manner just to group resources. I saw some of our partners, like our research partners, like DJ Case. You guys could create a collection on here if you'd like to. And we can talk about that in more detail on how you would facilitate that with the council. So this is an option for you. If you're sitting back and taking notes, reach out to us if you don't want to chat in public, and we can set up a call to discuss that. All right, the final topic here on the top left is the word R3 topics. So say you're sitting there and you don't know, you come to the assets and you're like, man, 375 things to sort through is a lot. I don't even know where to start. Partner collections, I don't really know which group I'm looking for, but if I come to R3 topics, this is the last way we thought people might be searching for content. Right now, there's about 18 topics, and we expect to add more as like the community grows and evolves. But these are the hot topics people talk about in R3. So we have marketing, mentoring, data and evaluation, training, diversity and inclusion, policy, partnerships, research, organizational culture, multi-state conservation grants, R3 plans, COVID-19, and programs. Most of the time, one of our conversations can fall into one of these categories. So if you come here and you don't know what you're looking for from the assets, you don't know which partner put it out there, and you just can't find the right search term to find what you're looking for, try the R3 topics. Now, these are connected to the work of the IWG as well, the implementation work group, that link I shared at the beginning of the webinar here, but it's grouped by category from their input as well too. So we'll continue to add assets here. These will be ever growing resources and lists of resources. But just as an example, I'm going to jump into the multi-state conservation grants. Now, the grant program is a popular one. A lot of work in R3 is funded by this pot of money. And so finding what work's been done with this funding is a really important way to track progress in the community. So the point of this R3 topic is to house projects that have been grant funded. It's to highlight webinars that are on the topic. So for instance, the council hosted a modern multi-state conservation grant panel at the forum. It's here and it's related to that topic. And then there's also the list of proposals and strategic priorities from the last 3 years of grants as well. This will continue to grow, but know that you don't have to search for it. You can just go to the R3 topics section, click on the multi-state grant, and everything you want is listed right there. Sorry, we're getting a little feedback. Does somebody have a question? Okay. So this is another resource for you. Another way to navigate the R3 Clearinghouse. And there's about 18 topics that if you don't know where to start, it gives you a starting point. Those are the basic search features and how we categorize stuff, content, assets. Does anyone have any questions just as a starting point there? And let's say the category of questions right now would be, how can I search for X? Okay. All right, I'm watching the chat, and feel free to just take yourself off mute if that comes up, okay? Okay, I'm gonna go to the other side now. We just visited the clearinghouse as a user. Now I'd like to visit as a contributor. So all of these resources didn't just appear overnight. We would not be able, council staff is 2 right now, okay? So we can't just go out there and categorize anything we find. We're trying, we share a lot of content on here, but we need your help as members of the community to add to the clearinghouse. It's only going to be as valuable as people contributing and searching. So if you, person sitting on this webinar, Bree, we're going to use you as an example. If Bree wants to add new content about the Georgia R3 efforts, all she needs to do is come to the homepage of the clearinghouse, the link I sent you guys. On the home page, there's this nice little box right here that says click to upload. Drag and drop your files here. Does everyone see that? Okay. Thumbs up, anything? Yeah, okay. Drag and drop. What this means, okay, cool, thanks, Haley, is that you can upload files. So I'm just going to use an example. Beer cans and gear angler impacts. There we go. Some kind of report from a meeting that we were at from the 2021 Midwest Fish Wildlife Conference, okay? So I have selected an asset that I would like to upload. You can see that it's currently processing the asset. What I did, I literally clicked to upload and it took me to my browser. It took me to my desktop where it had some files prepped for this webinar to upload here. But you can navigate just like you would to connect an attachment to an email or open up a new document in another platform. It's that simple. While it's uploading, it's going to ask you a couple of questions here, okay? So this is my email address, or this is who will get the notification of the asset being uploaded. It's basically the council account. So anytime you upload something, one of our staff will be notified that you have done so, and we'll be able to come in here and review which asset you've provided. In order to submit the rest of the information, we need you to do your email address. So I'm just going to pick a random email address I have here. And then we're asking you to give us some context of the asset, because we're going to be the ones that categorize it in the filters. So the message for recipient here would be like, if there's a copyright, you should say, please copyright, I'm going to say Midwest Fish and Wildlife. Okay. And I want to say, this is a report from a presentation. If it was funded with a multi-state grant dollars. Really cool. Love it. I don't know. You can give us any context you need, any information that would be helpful for a person sitting in the council seat, reviewing these assets and categorizing them appropriately. So once I send the file, that's it. You have submitted your asset to the bank, and now the council will get an email to review the file. I'm going to log in now as an administrator so you see what we do with your assets when they're added, okay? Nobody else needs to log in. I'm just giving you the background scenes, behind the scenes tour, so you understand what happens and when you submit an asset, some other ways that might be helpful for you as you go forward. So I have a notification up here. It says that somebody has submitted a file. So I need to look at it. That's a file I just submitted. There we go. There's a file that I submitted, and I now am going to go into this and I'm going to review it, see if there's any notes. Let's see. Yep. Okay. There's just some notes here that have like the background information. So it tells me assets have metadata. So on photos, on creation, PowerPoints, or like your word licensing, oftentimes some basic data is already added to the file that will transfer with it, which is helpful for us as well. So I can tell you that Susan Steffen wrote this original presentation. You can see her name right there too. And that it was added to us on this date. So I have some basic information here. So what I'm going to do is approve this file. And then it gives me an option to start categorizing it. So all those filters that you could search by, I'm now going to put them in the right categories. I'm going to say it's in 2013. It should be under the diversity and inclusion topic, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm basically cataloging the asset that somebody submitted to me. So if you're going to submit assets, the most helpful manner you can do this is giving us the most information you have. Because whatever you give us in those emails is how we're going to categorize here. And the more accurate we are in categorizing will make it easier to find it in that searchable database. So anything you can tell us about the asset as you upload it will be extremely helpful. Now, another way to add assets is to sit down with the council and say, listen, we got 50 assets, we want to upload them all, and we're going to set aside an hour and just go through them. By doing that, if you have a large volume, that might be the easiest way to do it. If you only have 1 or 2 assets, definitely use the drag and drop on the landing page. It's going to be your easiest manner. So once that we filter that asset, I'm not going to do this one. Obviously, I need to do it to categorize it correctly. But that asset, once it's approved, would be listed right here under the assets and be the latest thing that we've uploaded. So those are some basic ways to add content. I have a couple other tricks of the trade that if you guys want to play around with this searchable platform now, we can do that. But first, is there any major questions about adding content to the platform? Okay. Anyone want me to revisit any of this? I know I went quickly, but if you're familiar with it or you just want to play around with it, Looking at the chat. Okay. All right. So here's some other tricks I've learned to navigate as we've gone forward. There's something called tags. Tags are often another way beyond the filters to say like hunting dogs, or to say threat documents, or the group that coordinated the content. Assets can also not only be filtered, but they can be tagged to make them more easily searchable. So with these resources, when you come in here to search, you might want to look at the tags on top of the other filters. I would say that the filters are much more discreet if you're a data guru at all, and the tags can be added by anybody. So they're helpful. There might be a unique thing you're looking for and somebody just happened to tag it in that manner. But definitely look at it. If you're not finding what you're looking for through the other ways I've shown you, try using the tag filters and see what you find. It's a filter as well, and that other people can attribute to it. So it's like a crowdsource aspect of it. Another tip or trick that I've learned is under the advanced. This came to us by way of Bob Byrne. He said, isn't there a way to find the most recent assets added? You know, I want to stay up to date on the new content. So how do I go about that? So if you come in here, I'm under the assets tab and I'm under the advanced filter. I have no other filters turned on. I go over here to date added. I can do all in the last week, today, or a custom range from, let's say, the month of March. I've actually started using this feature a ton just for my own purposes as I'm looking at what's been added and say I want to see all the features added in March. You know, this might be a reporting aspect we do. Well, you can see what the council staff has added so far this month. That feature has been really helpful, and I would say that the publication date is different than date added. Publication date refers to the metadata that's included on the asset. So like say this image was actually created in 2018, that's the publication date and that's where it would come up. It was added this month, but the publication date would be a different manner. So those are the difference between that. Originally, these platforms are really great for marketing companies and people that use a lot of video and photo. So some of the other advanced features, you probably won't use that often, but like orientation. If you're coming here for photos, check out the advanced because these might be super helpful. But most often, I think people are going to be searching for like reports and PDFs, etc. Just a note on the photos. Say, I guess I didn't cover this. Say I want to pick a document. I find it in here. Okay, this is a PowerPoint that was uploaded. It was shared during a webinar on the Modern State Conservation Grant Program on February 24th, 2021. Let's see, I can tell that who wrote it originally, Ryan Oster wrote it. It has hunting, target shooting, angling, and boating covered. It's under the topic of R3, multi-state conservation grants, okay? And then it has a link. So what this is telling me is that there's more to this than just this asset. So if you're looking and say, this will be happening for the webinars we upload into the platform. The webinars and the actual webinar recording won't be uploaded, but like the cover photo and the filters will be added. So you'll get the topic, etc. So that when you search for it, it'll give you a link. So if you're looking for webinars, podcasts, and any other kind of digital media content, always look for a link. That'll be connected to the asset, okay? You can see the tags. So when I hit that link, it's gonna take me out of the platform into where the original content lies. So this one is in the Whisper, the website. So always look for links on digital content if you need to. And say I wanna download this. So that's one of the aspects of the platform that's cool. You can download the reports, which is why I highlighted the need to give credit, especially on photos, if you do that. So if I download this feature, it's going to pop up, scanning it. We all have different securities. And I just downloaded the publication, the PowerPoint, for my use. So as you're searching, know that you can download PowerPoints or case studies or toolkits or research papers. And also know that when you upload it, people are going to be able to download it. So as you're adding content here, remember what I said at the beginning, make sure you have the ability to share the content you're uploading, and keep in mind that once you add it to the open asset bank, people will be able to use it as well too. So just keep that in mind as you submit content, and make sure you're good with other people using what you share. So that's how you download it. On photos specifically, just so you're aware, here we go. The copyrights are going to be attributed to any photo if they need to be copyrighted. And when you download it, you can see the copyright is right here in the information. So this photo was made by the Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources. Okay. When I download it, that should translate into the metadata of the file. So there it is. And then if I would open this in a file, I could see who's using it. Okay. All right, I have something in the chat. Let me hop back in here. Yes, okay. Phil saying, can you speak to us?
I can speak.
Yay!
Yay.
So when you say uploader, what do you mean?
Person uploading the asset, can we suggest tags or apply tags ourselves, or is that only for you to do when you get it and decide if it's going to be applied or not?
So if we're talking like the one-off or two assets, the best way to do that is to tell us in that description that I modeled and say like, please tag as X, Y, and Z. Okay. For partners like you guys, or say Responsive Management or Southwick Associates, if we're adding, 50 or 60 assets at a time, that's where we should set some time and sit down and see if we can give you guys some special permission to upload it and filter it appropriately. Because you'll help us out by adding it to the resource, and it'll save us all time too to make sure it's done the right way. So I would definitely recommend that if you guys are looking at a volume ad, talk to us one-off after this webinar.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you. Nice question, Haley. Do photos need to be in a specific format before uploading? No, but the better quality pixels that you can add to it, the more commonly used, I think, it'll be in the future. So like some standard tips, like print quality is 72 pixels. No, I'm sorry, that's digital quality. So if it has 72 pixels or more, it can be shared on a digital, like a website. It's when you get into the higher pixels that's going to be used for print quality. So if you have a choice between like, a cell phone photo or something taken on a Nikon, the Nikons will probably be higher quality and used more often. Is that helpful, or do you have any other questions? Perfect. Okay. All right. So does anyone want to do some of our coworkers, I had thought about doing like a search and find to find some assets, but they said that was corny. So does anyone have any other questions? I'm trying to find it. Do you need some time to play with it? Like, just let me know what you're thinking here. Okay. I'm looking for the chat. Okay, cool. And is there anything that's missing that you were looking for, but you haven't found yet? Perfect. Thanks, Emily. Okay. I mean, I only set this up for 45 minutes. It's definitely something for you guys to use. I'll probably do another one of these webinars in about a month and a half. If you want to highlight and add 10 assets and see if we can add them together, that'd be great. My email, I'll put it in the chat. I think most people have found it so far. That's how you can email me. You can message me on the R3 community as well. And then if you have any other questions, I would say email us if they're very detailed, because then we can like hop on a webinar real quick and just show you how to fix it. Great. Phil, is that a commitment that we're going to sit down and have a call?
Yeah, we definitely need to talk. Yeah,
we're excited. It'll be great to have a lot of the research in one place to access it. That's the part I'm really excited about. That's going to be the most helpful, I think.
Maybe one just quick question in that regard. We could probably just take this mostly offline, but maybe if you could give me a quick response on, a lot of the work that most of the work that we do is for other entities. and we typically are, kind of just in the back seat of it. And so I kind of feel like a lot of that research, it would be up to, who our client was to decide whether they put it up there or not. We could certainly, that's one of the reasons why I asked the question about tagging. We could certainly tag it if someone wanted to know, oh, what did DJ Case do with this or that? That might be a way to do it, but it's really not most of it isn't really our original research. It's what we've done for other people. So I wasn't really sure how to handle those kinds of things, other than just encouraging the clients that we've done work for to post it themselves.
Yeah, that's actually a really great question in this forum, because it comes back to make sure you have the permission to share it, whether it be on behalf of your agency or your organization or your client or your partner. I would highly encourage you to check every box before you add it to the resource bank. I'd rather be more cautious than not. So how we've gone about this, and RBFF's a great example. I think Stephanie, Dave, and Joanne, I don't know if Joanne's on here too, they've gotten together and just said, we have these 40 resources we want to upload. I'm pretty sure that some of the work's been done by different partners and stuff. And I think like Southwick's tagged in here. I think you guys are tagged in here, and Duda too. So we can put them in a partner collection. That might be one feature, right? That all their content shared and we just go client by client with you. Or you could do it by just one off each asset. So there's different ways we can handle it, but I definitely encourage you to get their permission before we upload it, and then let's tag it and maybe even make it a collection.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Awesome. And one other feature I want to tell folks about, especially those sitting in your regions or your groups, something we didn't know that this platform could be used for, but that we're learning right alongside, is it can be used to aggregate resources for a project. This is a great case. This is closed. We're not accepting new photos now, but I left it up here as an example. So the Midwest Fish and Wildlife, Midwest Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies, there we go, got a multi-state conservation grant to develop a small game marketing toolkit. So to start the project, we put a call out between the R3 community and the R3 Clearinghouse to collect photos to use for focus groups. And Phil, I actually think it was your team that did this. We got 653 photos submitted through this platform. We did not expect that to happen. It's been a great way to aggregate that. We've talked to Jennifer Wisniewski with ACI for some of the projects they're doing. And I expect that there will be some other projects that if you want to collect a bunch of resources for, like, let's say NWTF wants to collect a bunch of state reports. We have this tool now where people can submit the content and we can add it to the larger data bank if they'd like. So if you have a project, this is here on the home page, the description here. Reach out to us, see how they structured it, see how they gave directions on how to name the files, etc. And reach out to us and let us know if you'd be interested in using it. It's part of the benefit is that this can be a place to promote your products and your work, a place to search for other products and ideas, and also a group community tool to manage projects moving forward. So if you're sitting there and thinking of a potential use, reach out to us and see if that's a fit for you. And this is on the home page. If you just hit home and you want to read about that project, it's right here. Of those 653 resources, we're going through them all, and I'm betting about 200 photos are going to be added of diverse hunters. So if that's something you're often looking for, make sure you check out the photo assets here. A lot of our partners have added them and copyrighted them, so you make sure you give them credit. But that's going to be a great feature of the clearinghouse that we're on right now. Okay. All right, I have one chat here. Cool. All right. Any other questions? Cool. So if you wanted to take some homework away, could you please add an asset and test it out and then become ambassadors for it? If you have a problem in the process, let us know. We're always here to improve it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And just let us know if there's anything else we can help with. I'll put a recording of this quick webinar on our YouTube channel and in the clearinghouse, so you'll have to search for it. But we appreciate you guys, your interest in this, and we look forward to working with you to build out this resource for the entire community. Cool. All right. Thanks for your time, everybody. I'm going to end the recording here.